Too much recruiting.
Recruiting Neo.
In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we're going to discuss In an Absent Dream by Shannon McGuire.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read the book. Read or listen to the book, then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up. We've been doing graphic novels lately, and so I'm just automatically cutting out the or listen. Or no, no, put it back in. Put it back
No, no,
in.
no,
Read or
no. You
listen.
can listen to this
You
one.
can
And it's a
listen
very
to
good
this one.
audiobook. So
It
yes.
really is. Yes.
But I think next week you can revert back. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Something that we need to just go ahead and say at the beginning of this episode is everyone go and join our Discord and talk about this book with us.
Yes. Links are everywhere. Everywhere.
Links are
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Do you know where they
Join
are? Everywhere.
everywhere, literally everywhere. I'm not sure why I said it like that.
We should get the
Never.
QR code put on a t-shirt and just walk around, and then people will be like, "Oh, what's on that QR code?" And they'll take a picture, and not take a picture of the boobs. They're taking, they're looking at the QR code,
Uh-huh.
and then
Yeah.
suddenly, like, "Oh, it's a Discord. Let's join the Discord."
Yeah. Okay.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? I mean, there's plenty of stuff in our Redbubble
Oh,
shop that people just don't buy, so we might as well just add one more.
then this is a design that I don't mind theft so much because it gets it out there.
Ugh.
Or people are just scrolling Redbubble like, "What's this QR code?" And they're like, "Oh, I'll scan it." It's like, you fell into our trap, did you?
Mm.
Feel like I need to do a standard disclaimer. I've just eaten a lot of cheese at lunchtime, so I've got the cheese sweats and the cheese high because I had like cheese on toast with bit or whatever you
Fantastic.
want to call it. So I'm like, woo! So
It's
enjoy.
fantastic. Yes. We are recording at a very different time today than we normally do.
You can tell because this is sunlight.
It's
And this
amazing.
is only for the Patreon. Oh no, book club. Everybody gets to see this.
Do they? I feel like I
Anywho,
stopped
should we just?
posting. I feel like I stopped
I
posting
can't
book club for
remember.
everyone. But hey, you know what? Post it for everyone. It's for everyone to see. I'm doing it again.
Oh,
Oh, okay. We
oh,
should get started.
welcome to the daylight. Yeah, give me some background information. I'm just fillering here. We're
Okay.
floundering,
I like fillering. Is that a word? I
fillering.
like it.
It
I like
is
fillering. It
now.
is now. Look out for the shirt on Redbubble that no one will buy. Everyone go to Redbubble and buy at least one fictional hangover item. Background info is from the same Nerdist article that I've been using for every Seanan McGuire book, every time
I'm
forever.
noticing a theme.
I know. I think you challenged me last time to continue to use it every time, so I will.
And it'll get down to just like one single sentence at a time so you can preserve the amount of
Uh-huh.
words.
Yeah. Yeah. So this bit is obviously about this book. And Shannon
I hope
says,
so.
well, it's not going to be that way at the end because the article is older than her newest books. So
No.
it's just going to be random words that I've selected. Anyway, this one, words that don't even go together in sentences, by the way.
Stop fillering.
I'm fillering. Catherine was a very bookish child who went through a door into a world where no one could cheat. The main rule of the market is it's kind of the libertarian dream, but actually working. You cannot take advantage of anyone. You must pay people fair value for anything that they offer you unless it's a genuine gift. If I have 500 My Little Ponies and you ask for one My Little Pony, then and you have one My Little Pony, then asking you for one pony and asking me for one pony is a different value. So you actually have to give to each according to their needs and take from each according to their available resources. And that resonated with a lot of people because we're living in a world that loves to take advantage of us.
Ah.
She goes on to say it was kind of a sad one for her to write because while she loved Lundy, she's not getting resurrected. We're not resurrecting
Womp womp.
every character who dies. That would be ridiculous. So setting up a book where that happened and then following it with her is kind of a confirmation that this is someone who stayed dead. So people got to kind of fall in love with Lundy and then realize, oh, crud cakes, she's definitely not coming back. Wah, wah.
Womp womp. Which actually falls nicely into my initial thoughts, which is this book is very different from the others.
Yes, it is. It is very different. And I like it.
Yes.
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 Yeah. I like this one a lot. I like that we travel back in time. We're in the 60s, although you wouldn't really know. It's
No,
not
because you spend
hippies.
most of the time somewhere else.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, shall we dig in?
Let's open the door and go through.
Oh, be
Only if you're
sure.
sure.
Are you sure? Be sure.
Only if you're sure.
Fillering. In 1962, Catherine Victoria Lundy turned 6 years old. She had a sister who was 6 years younger, and a brother who was 6 years older, and a mother who was busy with the baby, and a father who was busy being principal of a school. But they were a good-ish family who cared about each other. Catherine, never Kate or Kat or Kitty, did not have any friends because her classmates thought she would tattle on them to her father, the principal. They thought she was a nerd, a teacher's pet, and, well, yeah, that's true. And Catherine was completely fine with it. She knew she would grow up to be a librarian because her favorite thing in the world to do was read, and librarians get to be surrounded by books every single day. By 8 years old, she had her entire life planned out. She was perfectly normal and perfectly remarkable, which set the rest of her life in motion.
On the last day of second grade, Catherine did not rush out of school like all the rest of the students, instead preferring to sit quietly and read. But her teacher was ready to begin her summer and ushered Catherine out of her book and out of her classroom. Catherine, nose back in her book, walked home down her usual path, but where she should have turned right, her feet inexplicably turned her left instead. She continued walking and reading until the leaves of a giant tree in the middle of her path blocked the light from her pages. When Catherine looked at the tree, she noticed it had a door, and on the door was a sign reading, "Be sure." Catherine, sensible as always, was completely sure. She dropped her book and walked through the door. Hours later, everyone realised she was missing and not quietly reading in her room, and set out to search for her.
Catherine walked down a long, twisting hallway with an ornate rug on the floor and realized she must be inside someone's house. But turning around to leave, she found the door had disappeared. She meandered down the hallway and finally came upon cross stitched signs framed on the walls containing rules. Rules with a
Mm.
capital R.
Ooh.
Catherine always followed the rules. Rule 1, ask for nothing. Rule 2, names have power. Rule 3, always give fair value. Rule 4, take what is offered and be grateful. Rule 5, remember the curfew. Well, that's very confusing and doesn't make much sense at all. After reading the rules, Catherine found another door and went through.
The other side of the door wasn't the path home, but instead it led to what looked like a carnival, market, craft fair all rolled into one. The Goblin Market, she would later learn. There were strange figures all around, not quite people, for some were fairies and some were giants and others were other things. As she stood gazing around, Catherine was approached by a girl with owl eyes and feathers in her hair. She told Catherine not to speak or ask anything, but to come with her to see the archivist. Catherine screamed, of course, but the owl girl called Moon stopped her and pulled her through the market to a shack housing the archivist. The archivist told Catherine that Rule 1 could be waived for the time being, and that she could ask questions without needing to pay for them. Moon left, and Catherine took the archivist's hand and travelled inside the shack.
The archivist's shack was full of books, so we already know that Catherine loved the place. The archivist gave her permission to ask questions freely and tried to help her understand the rules. She also suggested that, since Rule 2 says that names have power, she should call herself something different that doesn't belong only to her. Catherine chose her last name, Lundy, and the archivist told her she's not the first Lundy to come through the door. Lundy knew it was her
Ooh.
father who came before, though she never thought he'd be the type. The archivist also told Lundy that the doors to this place opened several times, so she could come and go. But when she turned 18, the door wouldn't open anymore. The archivist, mostly sure that Lundy understood the rules and knew about fair value, not trading a sock when she could trade a single hair, for instance, sent her on her way to learn about the goblin market with Moon. Since she was allowed to ask anything of the archivist on her first visit, Lundy asked to be able to come back and read her books. The archivist agreed, with fair value being only that she cared for the books. And then Amanda swoons.
That
Ah,
is fair value. Oh,
ah, it's
oh.
amazing.
People they look after books when they
I know.
borrow them.
Ah.
That's Moon and Lundy ran around the market, and soon Lundy realised Moon was playing with her, which is something that she's never really experienced before. Moon offered to take debts for Lundy if she made a mistake, and only if she would pay her back later, and Lundy agreed, not really knowing what she agreed to. The two ran around stalls until they approached one run by a unicorn centaur pie baker. Moon asked what Lundy had with her in her pockets, and she revealed 2 pencils, a quarter, and a piece of chalk. Moon took the pencils and traded them for meat and fruit pies. 10 of each for both of them that they would retrieve in twos, which seemed to be fair trade, especially when Lundy had a growling tummy. Pies eaten, Moon declares they would be good friends.
Outside the goblin market, back through the door, 8 days passed. Lundy's mother was distraught, and so was her brother, and even her baby sister, but not her father. He knew what it was like through the doorway and knew the goblin market wouldn't keep his daughter on her first trip through the door. He remembered kisses he received when he was 16 from a hind who knew he was leaving and not going to return even before he knew himself. When he saw his daughter walking home without her socks, with feathers in her hair, he rushed out to hold her. She and Moon, and another, Mockery, fought the Wasp Queen to save the pomegranate fields, and she swore she would never return because Mockery died. She was lying, of course, and they both knew it.
When Lundy was 10, everyone, even her teachers, started treating her like a girl. She was stupid and only interested in hairbrushes. During one particularly nasty encounter with her math teacher, Lundy left the castle. During one particularly nasty encounter with her math teacher, Lundy left the classroom and found her door again. She returned to class to get her backpack, announced she had vomited all over the bathroom and was leaving for the day, and went back through her door. She went to see Vincent, the unicorn centaur pie maker.
It's hard to say unicorn
Sorry,
centaur pie baker.
it really is. She went to see Vincent, the unicorn centaur pie baker, and traded 3 pencils and a pencil sharpener for a year's worth of pies for herself and Moon. It was hard for her to stop carrying things in threes, but she would need to learn that her friend Mockery was gone, dead without fair value. But death is never fair.
Lundy went to the archivist, who told her she's no longer protected as she was with her first visit. But Lundy had been practicing asking questions without really asking for 2 years and felt prepared. The archivist told her where she could find Moon with a warning that things have changed since she left. Lundy found Moon by a stream, looking more owl-like than before. Without Lundy and Mockery, Moon took on more debts than she should have, and now had a beak instead of a mouth and fingers long like wings. Lundy offered Moon pies, paying off one of the debts she owed her, which made her beak return to a mouth. Then Lundy offered to take another one of her debts. The reunited friends held hands, and soon Lundy's fingernails grew long like talons, while Moon's shrank back, closer to normal, but quite there yet.
That night, Lundy went back to the archivist, who traded her a safe place to sleep if she would organise her books, which was a fair value trade.
So
I would
good.
love to just, I love organising books. Oh. Lundy asked about Moon's debts, and the archivist suggested they visit an old man who does all the laundry and offered to help him. So they did the next morning. By the end of the day, Lundy no longer had talons, and Moon was more like a girl than she had been in a long time. Later, the archivist explained to Lundy that the market itself knew fair value, and that sometimes it helped people who needed it, and sometimes it did not. Greedy people in the beginning turned into birds, and now, if you weren't able to pay your debts, you became a bird too, which was what was happening to Moon.
The next day, Lundy decided she needed a bath, and her nose decided Moon needed one too. So, after offering to pay, Moon went with Lundy to a bathhouse. Lundy began to understand why Moon had so many debts after she wouldn't take a bath unless someone else paid for her. It seemed Moon didn't like to do difficult things or things she didn't want to, even if the cost was simple. Luckily, Lundy brought her backpack full of treasures like buttons and thread and pencils, and was fine with Moon paying her back later by showing her where the best berries grew. They bathed and decided that they'd be friends forever and that Lundy would never leave again. But again, she knew it was a lie.
Lundy returned through her door with battle scars and leather-wrapped fingers and lots of feathers in her hair for promises that she never intended to break and would have to pay back when she returned to the Goblin Market. She only meant to go home long enough to gather new things to barter with, but she saw her bed and thought a small nap wouldn't hurt. It did, though. The
Mm.
next day, her father plucked each of the feathers from her hair and then sent her to boarding school for troubled girls, where she would never be alone long enough to find the door again. A couple of years passed, and Lundy, with fully grown eagle feathers from a couple of years passed, and Lundy, with fully grown eagle feathers growing from I'm putting too many froms. A couple of years passed, and Lundy, with fully grown eagle feathers growing down her neck, where the downy soft baby feathers used to be, again found her door.
Lundy, now almost 13, almost felt a little lost when she went into the market in the dark. Some things were still the same, some things were different, and she was different too. She knew the archivist would be in her shack, so she took off running, and the archivist met her with open arms. Lundy asked about Moon, but the archivist shook her head. After Lundy left again and was gone for years, Moon stopped believing in fair trade and became an owl. But Lundy still wanted to save her friend. The archivist gave her permission to sleep in her shack like always, but Lundy would have to work harder at organizing her books the next day after she'd had a proper sleep, a proper meal, and proper time to think about Moon.
The next day, after she visited with Vincent the unicorn centaur pie baker and traded more pencils for pies, Lundy ate and searched for a tent the archivist told her about where she'd be able to pay off Moon's debts. Inside the tent was the archivist. They talked of fair value and how it was different for everyone, and though she offered everything in her bag to pay for Moon to become human again, the archivist told her it wasn't enough. After turning Moon back, there would be one more cost. Lundy would lose her friendship with Moon because Moon would never see them as equals again. Lundy took that risk, gambling that it wouldn't happen. If it didn't, if they stayed friends for 1 year, then Lundy would take on Moon's debt in a different way. She would become a bird. Regardless of the possibilities, losing her friend or losing herself, Lundy had to save Moon because it was fair value.
Lundy ran through the wood to find Moon, and she spotted her up in a tree as an owl, but losing feathers fast. She fell down from the tree, but Lundy was there to catch her. Moon asked about owning her, but Lundy told her all was forgiven, and they laughed and ran off together, still best friends. Lundy began spending more time with the archivist, which made Moon a little jealous, but she soon started working as an apprentice to Vincent and made great pies and earned extra pies in payment. They each took on small debts here and there, and sometimes had feathers and sometimes had beaks, but they remained human and they remained friends. An entire year passed without Lundy realizing it, and when Moon went out to work with Vincent, the archivist called Lundy to her arm and she flew there as a bird. She would have to work very hard to become human again.
Another year passed, and Lundy gathered berries and game and did errands for shop owners in the market, and she finally brought her way back to being human. Before staying forever, Lundy decided she had to go back home one last time to say goodbye to her family. So she travelled back through the door and along. So she travelled back through the door and along not so familiar streets to her childhood home. Her father answered the door when she knocked, and she told him she would be going back to the market for good, but she had to say goodbye. He made her feel terrible for leaving and let her know that her mother cried herself to sleep every night because of her. Her mother joined them and then slapped Lundy, so upset at her for leaving. Lundy told her father that he did offer her fair value for her life, sending her away to boarding school to keep her from leaving again, instead of keeping her there himself. He countered that it would only be fair value if she stayed home with them for a year, hoping to convince her to change her mind. Hmm. Hmm.
So much rage happens now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Lundy's father did all the paperwork required to enroll her in school, most faked from the time she was meant to be at the boarding school. But instead of wishing her well, he insisted she not be an embarrassment. Lundy told her father if he went back on their bargain, if he didn't give her fair value for her year, or if he tried to do anything that would force her to stay, she would leave without a second thought. He responded that the market preys on children and wouldn't try to keep her unless it wanted something from her. Everything he said made her want to leave even more.
But she stayed. She stayed for a year.
Ah, ugh.
Not for her father or for her mother, but for Deanna, her little sister, who wasn't so little anymore. Deanna wanted her sister to say to see her grow up to talk about boys, and so Lundy stayed. She went through the door again at 16, but Deanna's birthday was a week, it was in a week, and she promised to go back to be there for it. Moon was upset and stormed off, but the archivist only reminded Lundy that her time to choose was running short. Lundy said she was sure and she would be back. Then she went back through the door to her sister.
Lundy returned to the Goblin Market 3 more times, but always came back to Diana, who always had something else she wanted Lundy to stay for. When it was finally time for Lundy to go, her 18th birthday growing ever closer, Lundy explained to Diana that she never saw herself growing old in their world and that nothing seemed right there, so she was leaving for the market and not coming back. Diana said she wanted Lundy to see her go to high school and wanted her to be her sister. Lundy gathered her belongings and ran for the market.
She went to see the archivist, told her she didn't want to turn 18, so she would give all the things she brought with her if only she could have something that would make her not reach the age where she had to agree to stay in one place or the other. The archivist took Lundy's belongings and gave her a crystal of potion, but tried to warn her before she drank it. Lundy didn't listen to the archivist's warning and drank. But if she had only listened, the
Hmm.
archivist told Lundy that wanting to be in both places wasn't giving fair value, and though now she would never turn 18, she was banished from the goblin market. Oh, Lundy ran back home, even though she was sure she wanted to stay.
Many years later, in 1990, Eleanor West visited Lundy's home after receiving a letter from a much older Diana, whose son disappeared just like her older sister did. Her sister, though, didn't get older, too, but instead, she grew younger. A 14-year-old Lundy answered the door and looked at Eleanor with much older eyes. Eleanor introduced herself to the old teenager, and together they left through the door. Not to the Goblin Market, but to Eleanor West's school for wayward children. where Lundy dies by getting her brain removed.
Wah,
Wah, wah.
wah. Oh, oh, oh.
There's no words right now. So while we continue to go,
Well, we well,
ah,
we'll fillering
we're
around, trying to
fillering
get some
around.
words,
You go
trying
listen.
to come up with some words.
Yes, you go listen to this promo from another show. Ah,
Ah,
fillering.
fillering. I can't think of one word though.
What? Oh my
Rage.
God. Diana is the worst guilt tripper of them all, and I hate her guts out.
Hard agree. 100%. Have no notes on that comment.
She's the worst. She's the worst.
Yeah,
And I am quite
yeah,
familiar with guilt tripping, being guilt tripped. And I hate it.
yeah,
I hate it.
yeah, yeah. Oh, but I want you to see me go to high school, and I want you to be there so I can talk about boys. Yeah. Oh, shut up. You've got friends for that. You don't need a sister.
Mm,
I was raging.
so,
That
so
scene
much
when
rage.
Deanna's making those, was it a fluffernutter sandwich or something like
Yes,
that?
yes.
And she's whining. It's petulant whining to Lundy about how she wants her to stay there. And it's not as if Deanna's like a small child. She's a teenager herself. So she's fully aware that she is manipulating her sister for her own needs. She doesn't once think what's best for her. There's a reason she's obviously disappearing. And yeah, okay, the parents have not told her why or where she's going. So she could have a conversation about it. If she hadn't promised her father, she would never mention it. And the whole fair value thing.
Yeah.
But she could have wrote Deanna a letter, which she would have received after she'd gone back to the Goblin Market,
Yeah.
which would not have broken the rules as far as I can understand.
Or, I mean, because Lundy is such a fan of loopholes. I mean, she tried to loophole her way out of turning 18, and it blew up in her face. But I'm just, I'm just surprised. There are a lot of things that I'm surprised by in this book, and it's not, it's not like, oh, it's a shock, but like, how does Lundy not value her life enough, because she's been spending so much of it in the market learning fair value, but she never gets fair value. She gives everything away for Moon. She gives everything away for her sister. She doesn't seem to care about herself at all, and that's not fair value.
I completely agree. Like, I half wanted Moon to be like, when you think about favorite characters and you kind of list them in your head, if nobody particularly stands out.
Yeah.
And I was going through them and thinking, oh well, I quite like Moon as a character. Really fantastic aesthetic, like the energy, but actually, Moon used Lundy so much
So much.
that their friendship was not equal at all. Like
No,
Moon
it,
had so much power over Lundy, and
yeah,
Lundy just willingly gave it. It was like, oh, I finally got a friend. So all I'm going to do is be
a
oh,
doormat.
is doormat. Yes, thank you, a doormat. Just be a doormat for her. It frustrated the life out of me. And this book is so different to the others because it is so sad.
Yeah.
You know Lundy's not going to survive. You know what happens to Lundy because obviously this is a prequel story.
Yeah.
And she's so happy at the Goblin Market, and every time she comes home, it's a horrible situation. I don't like any of our family members at all. And it's like, you know what? Just fill a bag full of pencils and other paraphernalia and just go. Just go. Don't
Just
take a
go.
nap. Just go. Just go and take all the bits and pieces from your family's house. That means that you'll have a somewhat easier time in bargaining at the Goblin Market and just go.
Yeah, I hate it.
Which is probably one of the most frustrating aspects of this one because so far it's the only one that I think where door opens and closes all the time. She has that
Yes.
ability to leave and come back
Yes.
until she's 18. Every all the other ones, it's you were there or you are kicked out.
Yeah. It's so interesting, this one, because it is so different and you see, okay, well, this is what we've learned thus far. And now this one, oh, it's completely different. There's more things to learn. There's more things that can be crazy in the future. There's more things that are going to be different. What are we going to expect in the next book? How's the next book going to be different? What's it going to be like? And we know from the
Yeah,
pattern that the next book takes place back in like the main timeline with Eleanor's school. So like what's going to happen? We don't know because this one is so
yeah,
different. It breaks the mold. So it's very exciting. But it's also so serious. I mean, the one before was all cakes and colors and ridiculousness. And this one was just so sad.
devastating, absolutely devastating. You built up to really like Lundy and really empathize with Lundy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just ripped away.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because, like you say, Lundy does not value or seem to value herself. And then her family are frustrating.
They're so frustrating. Like when she goes back home for the second time and her father just starts yelling at her and he's like telling her she's not gonna be an embarrassment, and then like her mom comes out and you think, oh, it's going to be a nice reunion because you just learned her mother cries for her every single night, and then she just slaps her in the face. Like, nah, I would have just been like, okay, done, give me my
No,
pencils, I'm out.
no.
Don't get slapped in the
It, it,
face.
it, yes. It was somewhat surprising, but also not, that her father had been to the Goblin Market. But then I kind of see the character. I see your father, and I'm like, why the hell would the Goblin Market want you?
Well,
Enough to open up
obviously
a door.
they didn't because he left. I like
But
to
it's like
think that he was so terrible and they were like, nah, get out. You're done. We don't want you anymore.
he probably never once like owed or owed value and grew a feather. He probably saw when he plucked all those feathers from Lundy that time, and that was awful. It was absolutely awful. You can
Yes.
imagine that he is ashamed of Lundy for even contemplating, never mind entering into the bargain of needing to grow
Yeah,
feathers.
there in that scene where they're talking about that, they're arguing and she's like, "Have you not ever worn feathers?" And he's like, "No, I'd rather die." Yikes.
So I can only imagine everybody at the Goblin Market was like, this guy.
Ugh.
I can't imagine him being a good principal either.
Well, he probably is a very good principal because he seems to be so rigid and unimaginative. And like in the 1960s, you've got your stodgy man principals. He would have been a
You can
he would have
tell he
been a
votes
great
Republican.
principal. Yes. When was the last time that we yelled about Republicans?
Oh,
What book was
it's
that?
see, it's probably last month. It's we've got to get it once a month
We do.
at least. I just I I used I yeah, I don't know. What I did like was the market itself. I got really
Yes.
strong Stardust vibes from it. You know,
Yes.
the market at the wall
Yes.
and the Goblin Market from Nettle and Bourne as well.
Yeah.
And then I realized that Goblin markets are very, very similar in literature, that they're full of wild and wonderful and brilliant creatures and they're colourful and diverse. And you've got to be careful what you say and who you say things to. So they do have like a bit of a framework, but the
Yes.
vibes were that kind of magicalness that really, honestly, I got those Stardust and I got those Nettle and Bone vibes and I really liked it. Um, I don't know if the Goblin Market is somewhere I would want to necessarily stay for a long period of time because I don't know how well I'd be able to follow those rules. I'd be too scared to slip up.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, oh, just turn us into a bird. It's just going to be easier. I
I can't.
can't work out your value system.
Yeah, I'll just be a bird. It's fine.
It's like when I go to America and I see a price tag, I'm like, oh, that seems cheap. Oh, then you add the tax on afterwards. Doesn't make any sense to me. Here, if the price is on, that's the price you pay. That makes sense to me.
Well, it
Oh, you've got to
doesn't.
add on 20%. I don't do percentages in my head.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to us either. It's fine.
That's fine. Well, next time, just see if you can get away with like three pencils and a pencil sharpener.
Yeah, I'll trade that. I'll trade three pencils to the oddly handsome unicorn
Centaur pie
centaur
baker.
pie baker. I feel like that needs to be a shirt. Oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker. And
Yes.
he's got an apron on that says spiteful baker.
Does
It's
he have like a sassy hip cock? And if so, which is the hip that's sassily cocked?
back the
Question
back
mark.
the hind hip
Back,
with his tail
the
doing a
hind
swish.
hip.
Yes, tail swish.
Nice, nice. Love it. So earlier today, my little boy has his backpack broke, so we got him a new one. And we were taking the backpack dangle things off one and putting them on the other. And I'm raking in his backpack to pull out his bits and pieces. And I swear I pulled out half a dozen pencils, some rocks, and a couple of badges. And in my head I went, what
Is
do I
he
get the Goblin Market for these?
was he planning to go through a door?
I'm worried about that now. Unless it's got Minecraft or Kirby. If Kirby, if that little pink puff ball is on the other side of the door, he's gone forever. Otherwise, I think he'd be like, nah, do I have to wear pants there? Yeah, no, it's fine, I'll stay here.
I don't know that he'd have to wear
So yeah, I was
pants.
like terrified. Sorry?
I don't know that he'd have to wear
What? What'd you
pants.
say?
I don't know
Well,
that
I
he would
don't
have to
know. I
wear
mean,
pants. Like I didn't
if he's going
see
to the
that
Goblin Market,
being a
he
rule
needs to wear
there.
pants. No, it's my rule. If you go in the Goblin Market, wear pants.
I mean, I think that's a good general rule to always wear pants of some sort. Cover your bits.
Keep your
But
privates private. Wear pants.
yes, but I mean,
Unless you are the oddly handsome centaur unicorn pie baker.
unicorn centaur. You said
So
the words wrong.
unicorn,
Unicorn centaur.
unicorn centaur. So oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker.
Yes.
Then does he wear pants? Or
And
just the
wear
spiteful baker apron?
just a spiteful baker apron.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it. I
It's
can
quite
see it all in my head. I need to
it's
I need to
it's perfect.
start drawing him. Oh my gosh. Did you have a favorite character? Was it the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker?
The more that we're talking about it, yes, it was. I
Yes.
mean, I was going to say the archivist, if only for all of their books.
Yes.
And I would glad when when I was a teenager, I would actively take all my books off my bookshelves and then rearrange them and reorganize them. It would take me days because I'll just pick up a book and just start reading it from random parts of
Yeah.
it and just, oh, I'm going to read this chapter here. Or, you know, I know you did the same thing. And like the idea of just sitting and rearranging all those books. Oh, mm.
It's
I
so
am that
nice.
person in a bookshop who does rearrange books into their correct series order.
I am a librarian and
You're a professional book
I'm a
arranger.
professional. Yes, professional book arranger. Mm. I like the archivist too. It's so she was such a nice character, and I mean I wish that Lundy had stayed and like had gotten I almost feel like she would have become the next archivist. I mean, like
Agreed.
she's been there the whole time, she says. But like I just I feel like the mantle would have been passed because Lundy so believed in fair value, even though she didn't give it for herself. But like she really followed the rules.
Hmm.
She tried. So I think that she would have been the next one to take over.
Which it sets up from the beginning, doesn't it? She knows what she wants to do in her life is to be a librarian because it involves reading books, and an archivist is a librarian of a different, family. And it's within the librarian family tree because
Yes.
librarianship, I mean, covers a lot.
Oh, it does. It definitely does.
I mean, we're two very different librarians under the same under a on the on we're cousins on the librarian family tree,
Yes. Yes, we are.
and it's the archivist there as well. And yeah, yeah. So it was setting up to be there. I think she would have taken over.
I think so.
I mean, even Papa Lundy might have been set up because of his understanding of fair value and being a bit of a stick. He's a bit of a
Yes.
stick in the mud
Because
though,
of his
and
rigidity, I think.
his rigidity. He had potential,
Hmm.
but I think he was a bore.
I think that he got really confused about his life choices when he made out with the deer and didn't know what he was doing and didn't like what was happening to him because he was different than what he was supposed to be. And I think because he is so strongly Republican that he couldn't handle it. And so that's why he left and that's why he never came back. He
Yeah,
was questioning his
everything.
everything and he didn't like it.
Yeah, it wasn't all black and white.
No, it was a very pretty brownish reddish deer girl. Nope, nope. She's not wearing an apron and serving me a sandwich, so I have to run away.
Oh, can I say what I really hated in the book?
Yes,
It wasn't because of it wasn't the book. It was because of societal norms at the time.
yes, of course.
And it was yeah, and I hate this even now. Um, when Lundy is talking about having to go home, and she's like, "Oh, if I go home, my mother's just gonna hand us the baby, and I'm just gonna have to look after the baby, and I don't want to look after the baby. Just, help mom out, do this, do that." And I'm like, I don't like when parents use their older children as the responsible
No, it's not
person
fair.
of the younger.
It's not fair at all. I currently
And
hate that right
mhm,
now. But you know what? It was only Lundy. It wasn't her older brother. He didn't have to
yeah,
watch the
exactly.
baby.
And that's why I'm saying it's the societal norms of pressuring the women. You've got to be the little woman who comes home and makes dinner for the your man and s- pop out the children. And no, I don't like it. And some people will love looking after their younger siblings.
Mhm.
And if you enjoy it, then fine. But as long as for me, the parents don't pressure for them to do that. If you if you need the older ones to take care of the younger ones, should you have had the younger ones?
No, you should you should figure out your life choices and your responsibilities and let your children grow up without that burden because that's all they're going to feel. They're going to feel, oh
Yeah,
well,
I
I
will.
can't I can't move out, I can't grow up, I can't, go on dates because oh, I got to watch, I got to watch my sibling, I got to take care of them. It's not fair.
And again, it's generally the girl who has to do it, not the
Yep.
boy, because
Yep.
the boy gets to go out and play sports, and boys will be boys. And
Ugh.
this is very general, sweeping statements. There are family situations where there are varying degrees of, well, actually, it would help the older ones to help the younger ones because of familial situations. So it's a very sweeping statement, and I'm not trying to insult anybody by saying that, but I just feel like Lundy did not care about children. She didn't
No.
want to look after the child. She was a child herself, so should have been allowed to be a child.
I I
As a
think what it
generalized statement commentary, because I do know that there are other family situations where, the older ones kind of need to help out.
no, I think what it is are you being forced to do it or are you doing it by choice?
Yeah, I think you could probably boil it down to that.
Because that's not fair. It's not fair value, Claire.
No.
And if we've learned anything in this book, it is fair value.
Yes.
There's one thing that we haven't talked about that it wasn't even talked about in the book very much, but there's something that I wish that we could have gotten. Um,
Mm.
I wish that we got to learn more about Mockery and the quests that Lundy and Moon and Mockery went on. Like they destroyed the Wasp Queen in the 8 days that Lundy was gone. I mean, time works differently there, obviously, it would have to, but you went on this quest and killed a queen, and now you've gone back home. They went on so many things. They did so many quests, but we didn't get to see the quests. We only got to see
No,
the brief interactions in the market. And I wish that we could have
no,
seen those.
I want to see that. I want to know what the adventures were. And I get the point of the book isn't what happened at the Goblin Market per se.
Yeah.
It was the transitions. But damn, I want to know.
I know. I want to
There's like
know.
full on D&D style adventures are taking place.
Yes.
I mean, come on. Quite clearly, Shannon McGuire had been reading Tolkien at the time because he's just as bad. He'll spend an entire chapter describing trees and mountains. But you want a battle? You want the Battle of Helm's Deep? A paragraph, if you're
Yeah, it's
lucky.
over. It's over already.
It's like, no, I want details, man.
Nope, you've taken a nap and now it's over.
No.
No.
Oh, a nap sounds good right now. Let's go to Would You
Oh,
Rather.
yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to Would You Rather. So then we can take a nap. But I mean, if you take a nap, are you going to miss your chance to go through your door? Are you going to, are
Well, I'm
you,
not. I'm older than 18 now, so yeah.
that's true. You
Womp
haven't
womp.
come up with any loopholes to
I'm gonna
reverse
create my
stuff.
own daughter, my own fictional universe. Pew,
Fantastic.
pew, pew,
Pew, pew,
pew,
pew.
pew. We asked on social media, would you rather eat a fruit pie or a meat pie? On Facebook, 66% are eating the meat pie. On Instagram, 71% are eating the fruit pie. On TikTok, it's 69% eating the fruit pie. And on Threads, it was 60% having the meat pie. So quite an even split, really.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a different question than we normally ask, but it goes along with our monthly theme, the munchies. Every all
Yes,
of our
got the
books,
munchies.
all of our books this month, or not all of them, but the majority of them. Or is it all of them? I can't recall. All of them.
This
All
this is
of
the only
them.
one that isn't strictly food, but I suppose it
Yes.
is now, isn't it? Well, not really, but they talk about pie so
They
much.
do talk about pies so much. So
Shall we lay the law down and say, yes, this fulfills the book club theme?
it 100% fills the book club theme.
Then I am at 100%. And she quickly looks at the graphic for next month.
Update
Well,
the graphic.
this month, Pro. Update the graphic. It's going to be done live. Uh, we keep doing pretty much every single one as a book club challenge, which I'm quite enjoying.
Yeah,
But
it's
that's a lot
great.
of pressure.
It is because then, in a couple of months, we're going to cover one book that only halfway barely fits the theme, and we're just going to shoehorn it in. And it's going to be fine because we're the lords and masters of our own universe.
Well, exactly. It's our podcast. We do what hell we want.
That's right.
Yes, every book now. I have just done the live update to the graphic. Every book now fits in with the book club theme. I
Fantastic.
mean, we could be cheeky and actually tell people what they are, but
Now,
check out our social medias at Fictional
yes,
Hangover.
yes.
Okay, so let's do some comments instead
Yeah,
from
let's do
social
it.
media, where it's
Yes.
at Fictional Hangover. Bree on Facebook said Dutch apple pie to be exact.
Constance on Facebook says, but also on the flip side, I do love Mia Piroshki. Not necessarily a meat pie, but it's pretty close. Instead of a flaky crust, it's in a baked yeast bun. Though, even then, I prefer the potato and cheese ones over the meat one. Then she also said, give me some of that Dutch apple pie. We can't trust Constance because Constance is an oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker.
She is the original spiteful baker.
She is.
Drew on Facebook said, I will risk a mystery meat pie, which I
Oh,
think is very brave of her. Mystery
yes.
meat.
Mystery meat.
She's
Mm,
choosing actively to have mystery
she
meat.
is. Katrina on Facebook says, easy one for me, this. I've never been a fan of fruit pies, so I will take the meat one.
And Emily on Facebook said, I'd go for a meat pie because I love me some fruit pies. The former fill me up quicker. Also, my family has a recipe for a meat pie with green beans and lots of cheese, to which he is also going to send us. So thank you, Emily.
Yay. Coral on Facebook says, right now I'm thinking of dinner and what to eat, and a chicken pot pie sounds really good. But then I'll have apple pie for dessert.
So
Coral?
that's Coral. That's option C. Or is she just playing us at our own game? And I
She
think
is.
she's playing Would You Rather properly.
Yeah, she is.
Colin on Facebook says, I love a nice meaty pie. I like to jam my mouth on them and get gravy everywhere.
Mm. Claire on Facebook says, I much prefer meat pies. Bit of steak and kidney.
Sparkly Rose, author friend on Instagram, says, meat pie, hand size. That's a lady that knows what she wants.
Oh, indeed. And finally, Crinoline the Frog on Threads said, you know what turned me vegetarian? Chicken. So slimy and disgusting. Give me a fruit pie.
I am going to have a meat pie because I do not like cooked fruit.
That is a fine answer.
My, my mum, though, does make a really nice cheese and onion pie.
Hmm.
So, hi, mum. I did ask my son this third question the other day, and he said meat pie. And then he was like, ooh, he had to steal my phone to text my mum to say, Nana, can we please have meat pie for tea tomorrow night? Thank you very much. And she made him pie, and I got leftovers. So I'm very happy that I have had meat pie this week.
That's
So I'm going to say meat
precious.
pie because I hate fruit pie. I hate cooked apples. Yeah. And pe I've had a peach cobbler that was
Hmm.
nice once, but I hate cooked fruit. So meat pie, but I would actually prefer cheese and onion pie.
Very interesting. I struggle with this one because I think I like both of them equally. And it just depends. Depends on what I'm feeling. Like, is it dinner or is it dessert? Is it my main source of food or is it something delightful that I can have on the side? Because if it's my main source of food, I would not choose a fruit pie. Like, if I was in the market and
Mm.
I traded my pencils, I would probably choose the meat pie. So I guess my answer is meat pie.
Mm.
But I do like a fruit pie. And it's getting close to
Meat pie
lunchtime.
with lots of vegetables inside
Yes.
and gravy. Now,
Yes.
are we thinking pastry or potato? Because then you've got your
Yes.
traditional pie pastry, or yeah, you got your mashed potato topped. So I do like fish pie actually, with a cheesy sauce.
Any of that. That's fine. I like all of those things.
I
I
really
feel like
fancy a fish pie.
I don't want a fish pie. No, 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 no. But I feel like there's the opportunity for more variety with a savory pie, not necessarily a meat pie, but and there's more variety. I mean, it could be beef, it could be chicken, it could be steak, it could be fish, it could be anything. But a fruit pie has to be fruit.
Yeah,
There could be potatoes, there could be green beans, there could be carrots, there could be peas, there could be gravy, there could be
it could be a cheese sauce, it could be a gravy sauce, it could be like to have them
it could
like
be a
pork pies and the
tomato
gelatin,
sauce.
which is freaky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be anything. I think there's more
yeah.
variety. There it is. There's more variety with a meat pie.
Plus, meat pie doesn't have cooked fruit in. Anywho,
Next question.
next question.
Would you rather go to a school where your dad is the principal ugh, or go to boarding school?
I'm gonna go to boarding school because then it might be some kind of dark academia kind of boarding school.
Uh-huh.
Well, and witchcraft or like joining an occult society.
Yeah, or it's vamps and you get to go and be a
Vamps.
vampire.
Yeah, it's a vampire boarding school with a really cool occult society and a
Yes.
fantastic library.
Yes. Yeah, I think maybe boarding schools, they're not necessarily so abundantly popular in the United States. So I feel like there's just like that idea that you're going to a completely different world and you're doing something completely different to what you're used to. You're separated from your family, you're like in a dorm room, you've got new people all over the place. I feel like a boarding school is more of an adventure.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, boarding schools in the UK are elite. You have to pay to go to a boarding school, and the chances are your family are stupid rich.
Yeah.
But if it's a dark academia boarding school,
With
then you get
vampires.
selected. With
Yes.
vampires and an occult society and an absolutely wonderful library, you get selected to go to that.
Yes. Or it's a boarding school in which you solve murders and write books and create Rube Goldberg
Yes.
machines and go to London.
Yes. And we can start a podcast, a
Yes.
murder mystery podcast.
Yes. All of these.
Yes.
Yes.
Sold.
Boarding
Sold.
school.
We're
Done.
doing all about a boarding school. It's going to be great. We're going to solve murders as vampires, joining the cult society, sitting in a library doing a podcast,
Yes.
and then
Mm-hmm.
have a field trip to London.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
All right.
Next question. Would you rather work as an apprentice to the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker or the archivist?
Oh, I have
This
to
is a
pick.
difficult one.
I have to pick the archivist. There's no other answer, really. Even
That is the
though,
correct answer for me as well.
yeah.
However, it's the oddly
However,
handsome unicorn centaur pie baker. Maybe you could
yeah.
just go for lunch with him every day.
Yeah, I mean, just take your pencils and get your pies from the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker. Why does he like pencils
I
so
need,
much?
I need the love story between the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker and the archivist. It
I
doesn't have to be the same ones from this book. It can be, transported, but I need an oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker and an archivist to find love. I need that book.
okay. Yeah,
Brie, superfan
Bree
Brie,
Bree would
this,
Bree could rock this book.
you would rock that book. I know you could.
Yeah. In this case, though, I feel like the archivist is a solo person.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's no rom-com in this in an absent dream.
No.
There's
Yeah.
certainly no rom and there's definitely no com in this book.
No. I mean, there's one or two lines of calm, but there's not. There's not any wrong at all, except for that time that her dad kissed that deer. But then he fled
You kissed dear, you kissed dear.
and he questioned his life choices and fled. It's terrible.
Do
But
you think
it's
it was
fine
actually a
because
stag and not a deer as well? And he's like questioning because he's a hardened Republican.
no, it was
He's like,
not. It was very, very clearly Hind. Very clearly said she was very pretty dear girl. Not a stag.
mm. You know he read the Chronicles of Narnia and had feelings for Mr. Thomas. But his Republican sensibilities,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Okay.
Anywho,
Next question.
yes, please.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
You didn't pay your debt in the goblin market.
Shoot.
Would you rather turn into an owl or an eagle?
Both are excellent options.
Mm,
I like them both.
mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna go owl though because I love owls. I like eagles as well. We know I don't like birds generally speaking,
Right.
but I do like owls and I do like eagles.
Yes.
So I think I'm gonna go for an owl.
Okay.
And I
I'm
can do
gonna
that head
choose
turny thing.
I'm gonna choose an eagle. Mostly because of
Can we
all
be an
of
owl and
those
eagle and go on
times.
adventures
We
together?
can, but I choose eagle mostly
Yay.
because of the times that we have laughed about the sounds that eagles make.
That's why I'm not being an eagle as well. I want to be an owl. That's silent, deadly.
Yeah, it's
You don't
fine.
hear me coming.
Yeah.
For a change, I'll make other people have the jump scares when I come into a room.
Yeah. Oh, and then you could
Are
be,
you going to be eagle-sized or person-sized?
I think I'm gonna be eagle sized. I don't think it would be I I'm gonna try to remain in the world of the goblin market. And I feel like they transform into eagle sized eagles and owl sized owls. However,
Yes.
I have just remembered you're not supposed to die tonight with that weird owl cult. And now that's all I'm thinking of. And that I want you to be that kind of owl. I want you to join the owl cult. And
I
not being
will
the
be the
terrible
owl
people.
cult.
Don't be the terrible people in the owl cult.
No,
Start your
I will
own owl
be the
cult.
head of the owl cult. They will worship me at their feet. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves when it comes to the book club thing.
I know.
We're not drinking the
We're not
Kool-Aid
cult.
this month. We're
It's not time
eating.
for cults yet.
No, we've got the munchies, not the cults, but still, they will worship at my feet
It's fine.
and murder for me. They don't know you don't have to do the murdering, but you do. But you don't. But you do. You don't. Okay. Last question. Would you rather stay in the market or stay with your sister? Should we say our answers after three together?
Yes.
One word. One, two, three.
Market.
Market.
Oh my gosh. Sister was the worst.
Nah, I did not like her at all.
She was the
Put her in the
worst.
bucket. No pout on her. She was just trash.
Yeah. At least when the brother came back, because the brother's older. At least when he came back, I feel like his question was more innocent. Are you gonna be around for Christmas? Like, that's a fair question that a sibling could ask. And you could say yes or no to it. It's not like, oh, you better come back for Christmas because I haven't seen you at a Christmas in so long and you're my sister in Christmas.
I want you to be around for Christmas so you can watch me open my presents. Oh.
I want you to be around for Christmas so you can give me presents.
You're gonna be around for my birthday so you can give me presents. You're gonna stay for high school so when I graduate you can give me presents.
Ugh.
I need to be around for high school so I can copy your homework.
Ugh.
The thing is though, Lundy is 6 years her senior, yeah? So if
Yes.
she's around for high school, is she? Because what, high school, you go to high school when you're 16?
I mean, it varies.
Thereabouts. So if you're in high school at age 16, how old's Lundy gonna be?
6 years older.
Yeah. So was it 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22? She's gonna be 22, yeah?
Yeah.
At 22 in the
In
60s,
the 60s, she
she'll have
will be
either
married with 6 children.
she'll either have gone to college if her parents are liberal enough to have allowed that, or she'll probably be married.
Hmm.
So, Deanna, I say this with the full vitriol it entails. Fuck off.
Yeah, just fuck right off.
Oh,
Hate it.
anywho,
Hate her.
anywho,
She's maybe
go on.
one of the
I'm going back to the
worst.
market.
Yeah, obviously we're going back to the market. I think Diana is maybe one of the worst characters that we've read in a long time. And we say this with love to Seanan McGuire if she's listening, because we are trying to get her to come on the show. So I don't just want to be like, oh, I hate your characters, they're the worst. But we've said this in the past. Writing a truly detestable character is the mark of a great author.
Oh, it's a skill. It is a skill.
Yeah.
And what's even better about it is because Deanna is such a relatable character. If you are not related to a Deanna,
Ugh,
either by as a sibling or a cousin
ugh.
or an aunt or a mother or some way, if you do not know a Deanna that you are related to,
That means that
a
you are a
friend
Diana.
knows a Deanna, or you
Oh.
are the Deanna.
I took it the wrong way. I'm sorry. You were.
No, you could be the Deanna. You could be. And you might need to have to look in the mirror and have some self-reflection.
Yes.
But yeah, everybody knows by blood or friendship or marriage a Deanna. Oh, you are the
Ugh.
Deanna.
Ugh, she's the worst.
And she's not a mystical, magical character. She's just a regular, trashy person,
Yes. Ugh.
which makes it even better slash worse depending on your opinion,
Yes.
perception.
Yes.
Anywho, anywho,
Anywho,
anywho.
favorite final thought quote?
I'm gonna give you three.
Okay.
That's my camera. All right.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. Books were precious things meant to be treated well.
Oh,
Can't save anyone if you neglect yourself.
oh, so true. And she did
Yeah.
not learn that.
That this is a massive lesson I think anybody can. You can't take care of family or friends. You can't take care of dependents or spouses or your own parents, depending on situations or whatever, unless you take care of yourself. You
Yeah,
have to be a priority to be able to make other people a priority.
what is the saying? You
If
can't
you're not
pour from
healthy,
an empty cup.
yeah. If you're
Yeah.
not happy and healthy, you can't help other people be happy and healthy.
Yeah.
And lastly, she was very tired. She'd only intended to stop long enough to fill her pockets, but she was so tired. And surely a brief nap couldn't hurt.
Oh.
Feel it. Feel hard. It's dangerous working from home. I'll just have a brief nap before my lunch. Shh.
I
Half an hour
know.
here.
Okay.
Give
No
me
one
yours. Give me yours.
no one serves their friends by grinding themselves into dust on the altar of compassion. And that one just ties
Ooh.
so nicely into yours. You can't save anyone if you neglect yourself. Like, just learn fair value, Lundy. Learn it truly.
Yes. Yes.
I chose this one because it reminds me of us and our discussions of Would You Rather. It can be easy when hearing about someone else's adventures in a far off magical land to say, I would never choose the mundane world over the fantastical. I would run into rivers of rainbow as fast as my legs would carry me, and I would never once look back. It's so often easy, when one has the luxury of being sure a thing will never happen, to be equally sure of one's answers. And that is just the essence of Would You Rather.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And then finally, because I often try really hard to bring things back to Twilight,
Of course.
wood does not customarily glitter. Few things do, unless they are attempting to lure something closer to themselves. Sparkle and shine are reserved for predators who can afford the risk of courting attention. This is the skin of a
I am
killer
so glad you picked that one up because I was literally in this exact seat because I was listening to it while I was at work, typing away and going, "Scary!"
Bella. This is the skin of a killer Bella. Oh.
Oh, I
This
love
is the door of a
it.
killer.
I think everything's tied back somehow to Twilight this year so far. We're doing really well.
We are. We really are. Fantastic. Okay.
Ugh.
If you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest? And don't say Twilight.
Well, I had talked about how the Goblin Market reminded me of Stardust and Nettle and Bone.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered both of those, so
Mm-hmm.
go back to and check those out. Nettle and Bone, obviously, more recently, but Stardust we did a couple of years ago,
We
in a
did.
December episode, I remember.
Yes.
So go back and check those out. And I was thinking, what can I recommend? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to recommend another Neil Gaiman because it gives you that kind of sadness
Mm,
and inevitability. And it's The Ocean at the End of the Lane.
mm,
And it's a fantastic book. It's quite short. And if you ever get the chance to see the stage show of it, which I have, it is absolutely phenomenal. So, go and see that as well. And it's a very good translation. So it's not it's a hashtag tenuous link, but it's more that I give you the feels, but you do go into other worlds as well. So the summary from Goodreads: a middle-aged man returns to his childhood home to attend a funeral. Although the house he lived in is long gone, he is drawn to the farm at the end of the road, where, when he was 7, he encountered a most remarkable girl, Letty Hempstock, and her mother and grandmother. He hasn't thought of Letty in decades, and yet as he sits by the pond, a pond that she claimed was an ocean, behind the ramshackle old farmhouse, the unremembered past comes flooding back. And it is a past too strange, too frightening, too dangerous to have happened to anyone, let alone a small boy. It's a groundbreaking work as delicate as a butterfly's wing and as menacing as a knife in the dark. The Ocean at the End of the Lane is told with rare understanding of all that makes us human and shows the power of stories to reveal and shelter us from the darkness inside and out. It's beautiful. It's got some really scary bits in as well, like proper Neil Gaiman spooky bits,
ah,
but then proper Neil Gaiman heart and magic.
whimsy, I was gonna say.
Yes. Well, if you think about the relationship of Letty and the mother and the grandmother, anywho,
So,
what have you got?
at first, I wanted to suggest Needful Things by Stephen King because, like, I like to make everything twisted and scary. And so that one, it's like, it's about an antique store and you go and you find exactly what you need, but then you have to play a prank on someone and then it's terrible. I thought about that, but then I thought, no, that book came out so long ago. Let's do something.
Well, to be fair, The Ocean at the End of the Lane is exactly a recent publication
I
either.
know, but this one's 1991 and it's Stephen King. Like, it doesn't necessarily fit the vibe of Fictional Hangover.
Okay.
So then I went to Reddit and I was searching for books set in goblin markets. And I have discovered one that I would like to read. It's called Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovolino. And this is the summary that came from Goodreads. Lou never believed in superstitions or magic until her teenage aunt, Neela, is kidnapped to the goblin market. The market is a place Lou has only read about: twisted streets, offerings of sweet fruits, and incredible jewels. Everything, from the food and wares to the goblins themselves, is a haunting temptation for any human who manages to find their way in. Determined to save Neela, Lou learns songs and spells and tricks that will help her navigate this dangerous world and slip past a goblin's defenses. But she only has 3 days to find Neela before the market disappears and her aunt becomes one of them forever. If she isn't careful, the market might just end up claiming her, too.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Mm.
Do we have anything in the new and indie spotlight?
We do, but this one, this one is more hashtag tenuous link. And this one just came to us recently in an email.
Okay.
And this one, I think, takes the rage parts of In an Absent
Oh,
Dream.
oh, oh. You
Yeah,
know I like it when a book gives me rage.
right? But it might
But
not
people
be
think
so
it's
bad.
funny.
It might not be so bad, but there seems to be. I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide how hashtag
Okay.
tenuous
Okay.
like this book could be.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm listening. Give it
Okay.
to me. Give it to me.
Not About a Boy by Maya Hollis. This one comes out in July, so we've still got a little while before it comes out.
Okay.
Emily has never known what it truly means to be happy. She thought she'd found happiness once in a love that ended in tragedy and nearly sent her over the edge. Now, at 17, Mel is beginning to piece her life back together. Under the supervision of Laurel Child Services, the exclusive foster care agency that raised her, Mel is sober and living with a new family among Manhattan's elite. It's her last chance at adoption before she ages out of the system, and she promised this time she'll try. But a casual relationship with a boy is turning into something she never intended for it to be, causing small cracks in her carefully constructed walls. Then, the sister she has no memory of contacts Mel, unearthing complicated feelings about the past and what could have been done. As the anniversary of the worst day of her life approaches, Mel must weather the rising tides of grief and depression before she loses herself and those close to her all over again. That
Oh,
sister's coming in and ruining stuff.
bloody
Maybe.
sisters. I'm glad I've got a brother. Sisters, man. Oh, I want a
Anyway,
sister. We'll be best friends. No, no.
okay, that's it.
Anyway.
That's it for this
Is that
episode
it?
of Fictional Hangover. Yep, it's over. I'm
Let's go and think
Amanda.
about our oddly handsome
Yes,
unicorn
oddly handsome
centaur
unicorn
pie
centaur pie
baker.
baker.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. I'm Amanda.
I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich
Nom, nom,
by
nom, nom,
Dea
nom, nom, nom.
Muniz. Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite fictional hangover themed merchandise and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.